Come with me to a magical place where being labeled the pork queen is a compliment, where being nice is just a way of life, and where all leaders of the free world must pass through. Welcome to Iowa. Whether you're a current Iowan, an Iowa expat, or an Iowan at heart, this show is for you. This is the Iowa Podcast. Real Iowans, real talk, no drama. I'm Justin Brady. Back to school is coming, autumn is coming, fall is coming, and schedules change. Everything changes. You go from summer, a little bit flexible, maybe a little bit loosey-goosey, and then we go back into school. So we need to get organized. We need to get things figured out. And a lot of people just live in kind of a state of chaos, and they don't know there's a better way out. So today we brought Jennifer Robb, the founder of Simple Organizing Strategies, and also the founder of Professional Organizers Collective. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And
there's a little story with the Professional Organizers Collective. It used to be under a different name. What's the it's kind of exciting. What's like the 20, 30 second background for what happened there?
Very exciting. Thank you. So we started in 2006 as a group of organizers who didn't know any other organizers. So we got together in Des Moines for a little cup of coffee. And it turned into a networking, resource, and education collective. So fast forward 16 years, we outgrew our britches. Some of our organizers moved out of the state. Some of them work nationwide. So recently this year, we have changed our name from Iowa Professional Organizers to the Professional Organizers Collective. And we have organizers in 5 states.
Yeah, congratulations. So mornings are often, now I'll be honest, this is why you're in here. I don't have kids. It's me and my wife. We live in a smaller house. Things are pretty simple. My mornings are get up, I make coffee, and I hand it to my wife. We get ready and she works from home. I, kind of work from wherever. So I kind of work from home. I work from a co-working space. So our mornings are fairly easy, but everybody's not that way. There's a little bit of chaos getting up. At least this is what I hear from, bigger families. So getting out the door is really hard for people. Is there a better way to plan for this? Because, you're organizing, this is your thing. That's why you're here. Is there a better way to plan this out and get people out of the door consistently every morning?
Yes. And you already hit the nail on the head. Routine. You have a routine and consistency every single day. Same thing with families. Just have a routine, have it be consistent, and have it function for different members of the family. So there's right brain, there's left brain, there's really visual people who need everything that they own out where they can see it or it doesn't exist anymore. And then there's the traditional style of organizing where everything's put away neat in a drawer or a cupboard or, a cabinet or a pantry or whatever. And just understanding the needs of your family. Like if you have a kid that needs everything out where they can see it, don't make them use a dresser. Don't make them close their closet door.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like let them leave everything out where it's visual, where it's accessible, where they can see it and grab it and get to it when they need it. So there's ways of being organized visually that may not be something that the traditional mom or dad thought of. And there's totally ways to incorporate that kind of visual learning into your family lifestyle.
So we need to back up a little bit then, because this seems really straightforward that you just look up online for good organization strategies and then you just incorporate those strategies. But you're saying it's not actually that simple. Everybody has different learning. Everybody has a different pace. They have different organizing strategies. And so naturally, if I'm a parent, I'm like, I have 3 kids. Do you expect me to do like a neurological analysis and profile on each one of them to understand what they all need? Is there a simple way to go about doing this?
Yeah. So if you have a kid, so this is just my personal story. So I had a kid and I was like, okay, kid, go get ready for school. And she would bebop off and she would come back with her teeth brushed and her shoes on and looking perfect and ready to rock. And then I had another kid and I thought, oh, this parenting thing is super simple. Why doesn't everyone do this? So then I had a second kid and I'm like, go get ready for school. And the oldest one comes back and the little one's gone. And I said, where's your sister? And she said, I don't know. So I go find the sister and she's sitting on her floor crying. And she's like, you gave me too many instructions and I don't know what I'm doing. And so long story short, we had to figure out what worked for her, which as an organizer, I thought I was going to get all these calls to go organize these type A, Tetris type brain people. And those aren't the people that call me. Those people are me. So it's the people that need everything out where they can see it. The people that have all these piles on their flat surfaces, but they could tell you exactly where a piece of paper is in that pile. So then the light bulb moment was, oh, shoot, okay, I have to give this visual kid system. So she no longer has dresser drawers. She has open, clear containers where she keeps her clothes in categories. She has everything hung up on hangers, so nothing in dresser drawers. Her backpack is on a hook by the door. It doesn't go in a closet or in a pantry. So just visual systems for the visual people in the family, and like for spelling words. She could write her spelling words 100 times and still miss spelling words on Friday. But when we would start having her speak her spelling words into a recorder and listen back to them at night, then she started getting 100% on all of her spelling words. So we all function differently. We all learn differently. And there are systems that can work for everyone. So buying that bestseller book on the New York Times bestseller list, that may not be the system for you because everyone's super different.
Sure. Okay. So do we keep like a running journal then of each kid? Like, is that how simple this can be? Because it's basically you're saying spend time figuring out what is easier for them. It's going to be different from every kid. Don't assume it's the same for everybody.
Sure.
And so it's basically spend time, make notes, see what's easiest for them. Is it that simple?
Yeah, and they can tell you, like, this doesn't work for me, or this is really helpful. And so if you present them with different options, so a lot of times as an organizer, I'll just come do the walkthrough and I'll tell the mom, hey, mom, what if we don't make this kid use a dresser? What if we put shelves in their closet? We get clear see-through containers without a lid, so they're super accessible. And then one has socks, one has underwear, one has whatever.
Yeah.
And then instead of a closet door, we just put a tension rod up with a curtain. So that took away that physical and visual barrier and allowed that kid like access to utilize its space and their stuff.
Yeah. And it's as long as you're both focused on the same mission, right? You don't adapt around them if they're like, well, I don't want to be organized. I want to put everything all over the floor. You draw the line there. The line has to be organization and efficiency. And as long as they're focused on the same mission as the parent, then it's fine.
Yeah. If they want to live out of their laundry basket all week of clean clothes, that's cool. I mean, shut the door.
Really?
Yeah.
As long as there's a system, as long as it's like hidden and not cluttered and not getting in the way of their process.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
If they want to draw a mural, and that's going to be your kid that wants to draw a mural on the wall.
Right.
And your other kid's going to want every book in alphabetical order and Dewey Decimal System style on the shelves. And,
right.
And that's cool. They're going to do different things as they grow and become big humans.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of like clutter because kids just throw crap everywhere, right? And so are there better strategies to handle clutter? Do we make drop zones? Is that a thing? Sometimes on the home remodel network things, you see people like building this huge entryway with all the hooks and I'm like, that's really cool if you have like a giant 2,500 square foot house, but like my house isn't that big and that wouldn't work for me.
Right.
If we had littles running around. So is there a strategy that works for everybody to control clutter, keep things in their place so we're not looking for stuff every morning?
Yeah, that's key too. So everything has a place and everything goes in its place, but you could chase your kids around all day long picking up after them. When it comes to tight spaces, you have to prioritize the items that you use most often and put those in a place where they're easiest to get to. So, for example, in the kitchen, you want the dishes closest to the dishwasher that you use all the time.
Sure. Yeah.
If you have a huge set of dishes, don't try to cram them all into the one cupboard, by the dishwasher. Just have 5 or 6, the amount that you need. Same with clothes and every other category, and then put the overstock in a tote and store it somewhere. Yeah. I forgot what the first part of the question was.
Just drop zones, organizing.
Zones. Yeah. So you could follow them around all day and clean up after them, but you could have some hooks that just have the coats that are for this season. So they're just raincoats, they're just spring jackets, they're just whatever. And then when spring comes, all the winter jackets go into a tote. They get stored in the basement or, wherever. And then drop zones, just have a small little wicker basket in every room. And so when it's dinner time, everything that's on the floor gets picked up and it goes into the wicker basket. And then at night you walk around with your kids and they help you put away everything from the wicker basket. So yeah, have like a catch-all in each room that you can walk around and put all that stuff away instead of every moment, taking each item and putting it away, especially for kids with like ADD or ADHD. Like they're not going to play Legos and then go put all their Legos away. But if we can scoop up all the Legos, put them in this wicker basket, and then when we go around in the evening before bed, we can put everything away where it goes.
It's about, so they will, it just has to be a process that makes sense for their head. Like, cause I have ADHD and I could go off on my theories on ADHD. I just think it's my personality and whatever, but There are processes that work for every thinking style. You just need to find it. It goes back to that again.
Yeah.
You mentioned doing this in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned before we go to bed. Is that part of a bedtime routine kind of a thing?
It could be. And if your kid is losing it in the evening, then it could be a morning routine.
Sure.
Go with and the same thing for adults. When you're going to dive into an organizing project, you're going to dive into the projects that take a little bit more mental and physical capacity on days where you slept well, you're feeling good, your energy is high. And then on the days where you didn't sleep well, or maybe you don't feel awesome, we're not going to dive into sentimental photographs from Grandma Bessie. We're going to pick the appropriate time and energy level to deal with the mountain ahead of us. And it can be toys or it can be big things.
What other evening routines are there that are beneficial to getting out in the morning? Should every family have some kind of evening checklist to make sure the mornings go okay?
Yeah. And if that's really helpful, you could do a whiteboard with a checklist, or sometimes it's just easier to get your family into that routine. And so just thinking one step ahead. So, at the beginning of the week, for example, say you go to the grocery store on Sunday, have those easy snacks available to the kids so they can help you pack their lunch, or they can tell you. So say you grab fruits and vegetables right when you get home from the grocery store, cut them all up, put them in little containers so the kids can be like, oh, okay, I want a handful of grapes and I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So kids will help you if they know how to help you. And so if you give them these little responsibilities, I firmly believe that kids in kindergarten should be starting to learn how to do the laundry, starting to learn how to load the dishwasher. It gives them a sense of pride and accomplishment to be independent. And then, not saying that this is what happened, but I had two 16-year-olds that joined the fire department, and they've been going on fire calls since they were 16 years old, because they just go out there and do it. Yeah,
that's really cool. I love that. A lot of your answers come back to one core value that you have, which is routine. Mm-hmm. And you've even said this before you're like, hey, what you said there goes back to routine. It seems like routine is something that a lot of people lack, but is this something when you work with clients, it always goes back to there's no routine. They just handle things as they come. And then because they're handling things as they come, they're always caught off guard. Is this the core value that everybody needs to understand?
This is a total rabbit hole. We need 4 more hours for this. No, I just firmly believe that as children in school, we're taught to sit at a desk and be still. Yeah. They don't teach you how to upregulate or downregulate your nervous system. They don't teach you anything about energy, like high energy, low energy, how to replenish your energy. They don't teach anybody about self-care. Put the mask on yourself, take care of yourself so you can take care of others. So when I go into the homes of adults, by that time, we're also traumatized from our experiences. Maybe it's death in the family. Maybe we're a child of an alcoholic. Maybe we have cancer. There's so many things where people have just been treading water for so long, and then just one more thing, and that's it. They can't. It's too many things. And so we just break it down, and I'm like, okay, in the perfect world, how would you want this space to function? And usually they'll either start laughing or they'll start crying because they don't think that that's real. And I say, well, no, you make the rules. We make the rules. We decide what's real. So in this space, what brings you joy? What do you open your eyes and want to see first thing every day? If that big bulky dresser is more functional because you can hold more clothes in it, but this other dresser is more beautiful and it brings you joy and you love it, get that beautiful one and we'll make a way to store the rest of your stuff that doesn't fit in there. This happens a lot when older people want to go to independent living or a nursing home, and they've got their kids telling them, well, you should take this because it's a family heirloom, or you should do that. So first of all, they're losing their independence. And then second of all, they're being told what to do. And I just say, okay, all of that out the window. In a perfect world, what brings you joy? Right. Let's create that.
Yeah. What you said earlier, I should have gone back to this earlier. I didn't, but I'm just thinking of it as you're talking, what brings you joy in a perfect world? People really struggle with clutter and just holding on to stuff because they're like, well, I'll use that. Mm-hmm. I see this a lot where people are like, well, I might use, and they use this one item that takes up a lot of space once every 2 years. And what this does is it fills, let me just give a kitchen as an example. It fills the kitchen with a ton of useless junk they're never going to use. They're always fishing for things. And one of the things we did we don't have a lot of unitaskers. You know, our kitchen is pretty clutter free. Our kitchen is crazy clutter free, but our cupboards are like, there's a lot of space in the cupboards. Everything has its own little space, and we're not cramming everything into every little corner. And to your point earlier, it makes putting away things really fast. And also when we're cooking and we need to get a certain thing, we know exactly where that is every time. And when I open my cupboards, I often think to myself, if I were another person, I'd probably be thinking, look at all these empty gaps everywhere I could fill with junk. And so to your point, it does make things very fast, easy to put away things, easy to find them. I want to go to something you said a moment ago. You mentioned like getting the kids, lunches ready and packing. And one of the things that I think also takes a back seat when you have like a life that feels like it's in chaos is nutrition. And dare I say, we're at kind of a nutritional crisis in this country where most of the food people are eating is very, very processed. It's not good for the body. And people are in a tough spot. Like they have this belief that, well, I know this probably isn't the best thing, but it's the fastest thing. Is that even a true belief, or would you challenge that core idea?
Well, being a yoga teacher, you learn to cut out the things that don't feel good to you or don't make you feel good and start to implement in things that do. So if you're living a really processed food lifestyle, you could shoot for the goal of less processed food, more fresh food. If you think about it from the perspective of the longer the shelf life of the food, the shorter your life as a human.
Yeah.
So that's
except for like honey.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is a true statement. And sea salt.
Yes, true. Those things last forever.
Yeah.
And they're pretty healthy.
And Manuka honey is the best.
And it tastes really good.
It's so good. I wash my face with it.
What?
Yeah, I know.
This might be another topic.
I had a friend and I made a post and I said, does anybody else love Manuka honey as much as I do? And my friend, who's like beautiful, looks 20 years younger than she is. She said, yeah, I wash my face with it. Let me know how it goes.
This might be another topic because I will say it tastes fantastic, but anybody Googling Manuka honey right now, it is also really expensive.
Oh my gosh. So I buy it in the $68 jar. That's
there's like a big discount jar.
It's $68, but I think it's 64 ounces. Yeah, I could bathe in this stuff. Yes. But again, yeah, just so make it easy. So if you're, so that's the thing about your family. They probably grab the potato chips or the popcorn or whatever because it's easy. It's there. It's crunchy. There's something primal about us. In the basal brain that says crunchy is nutrition. So put crunchy things in the fridge that are an alternative to potato chips. So have like individual sized baggies of green grapes or strawberries that are already cut up and washed or vegetables, little carrots, So, and have that. If that's accessible, they'll grab it just as easy as they'll grab a bag of chips.
That's interesting. So you're making the argument, and I think this makes a lot of sense, that sometimes parents are like, man, I wish my kids would eat healthy. It's like, well, you've made the unhealthy easy. So if you make the healthy easier, that's an easier fight to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can, so peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, instead of buying the ones that are pre-made and processed, use a little bit healthier bread or,
sure,
whatever.
Yeah. I've noticed like little hacks. I listened to a Huberman Lab show like a month ago.
Yeah.
And it was about fruit. And so I've just been avoiding fruit for years because it's really high in natural sugar. And even natural sugar, for those that don't know, is not good for you. So my brother's a dentist and he tells patients all the time, fruit juice is not good. Do not drink fruit juice ever. It is really, 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 really bad. And so Huberman was asking about blueberries. He's like, I eat a lot of these. I feel guilty. And one of his guests is like, you don't have to, because whole fruits have tons of fiber, and the fiber essentially creates a mesh in your gut, prevents the fructose from being absorbed, and then that goes to your gut bacteria, which is good for this whole thing. So I was like, fruit is like really good for me to a point, vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole rabbit hole here.
Veggies, nuts, all of that.
And so I've been like, when I want a snack or like a sweeter snack, the biggest hack is freeze your grapes because they taste so sugary. Or like dried mango slices are unbelievable. And so these are ways, especially like if people are going to dehydrate their own mangoes or something, these are ways that people can get little snacks in there. But I love the idea of create easy wins in nutrition. Mm-hmm. Does this apply to like, do we help get the kids in the evening routine to help make their lunches and stuff? Like, because I think there's some research that says like kids that make their own food are more likely to eat it. So do we get them involved in making the snacks?
I like that idea because, yeah, if they get to choose what's going in there, I mean, you can oversee it and make sure they're not filling their lunch box full of candy. But but yeah.
So don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. But yeah, you can encourage vegetables, nuts, things that are healthy and that agree with their stomach. So going back to yoga and like the holistic approach, every person is just as your organizing style is unique, your gut biome is unique too.
Right.
So some people say you come from a long family history of diabetics. You're going to want to maybe stay more away from those sugary fruits and eat more vegetables or meats. And let's say you come from a long family history of early heart attacks or high cholesterol, high blood pressure. Maybe you want to stay away from the beef jerkies and the meats and you want to have more fruits. So again, everyone's constitution is totally different. And if your kid is telling you like, oh, my stomach hurts, it may be something that they're eating that's not, that's not agreeing with them. So I'm the biggest fan in the world of my chiropractor. He just promotes keeping the body healthy, in alignment, and going back to the fundamental basics. Like if you don't feel good, what did you eat that day?
Right.
How did you sleep? How was your stress level? So like you said, making lists and things like that for the kids, maybe that is necessary to get a kid like figured out. Or maybe you just kind of pay attention to that kid and continue to offer them suggestions that you feel might complement their constitution.
I do find there is this, with even great people, there is this victim mindset that creeps in for health. There's nothing you can do about it. That's just what the body does. And I've within recent years, I have noticed that the body reacts to something. And so I had, after struggling with allergies almost my entire life, I realized it was actually a lot of the foods I was eating, foods that I was told were healthy for me. And I'm not going to get down this rabbit hole either. But, you work in nutrition and health quite a bit. Do you find that most of the time when a kid doesn't feel good, or even us as adults when we don't feel good, do you find in many cases there's usually a nutritional or habit core issue related to that?
Could be. It depends on how much processed food they're eating, how they're dealing with lactose, how they're dealing with gluten. And there's a huge correlation between the brain and the gut. So what's going on? Are they stressed out because they're having to take online school instead of being able to go to school in person?
That's so true.
Are their parents getting a divorce? Like, what's going on in their whole entire life that's, culminating. And sometimes it's just a matter of doing like, not necessarily, I hate like quotation mark diets, but doing something like the Whole30 where you just cut down to a very bland basic for just a month to allow your gut that time to heal. And then you start adding things back in. And sometimes you can then start eating things that you weren't able to eat before because the inflammation is gone. So I firmly believe like it's a whole, and these are also things they don't teach us in school, how to care for your whole entire self.
Yeah, absolutely. There is one of our friends thought he was gluten intolerant. And then we were just talking about like French flour and how the French ban certain additives and synthetic pesticides and stuff like that. And we're like, what if you weren't gluten intolerant? What if it was just the flour you're getting? So they actually bought some French flour, had it, and he made a slice of bread, ate it, nothing happened. Ate like a whole loaf or something, nothing happened. He's like, oh my word, I thought I was gluten. I can eat gluten. It's just that I can't eat certain bread, like flours that were created with certain blew his mind. And I feel like the more, there is so much research now that is widely accessible to people that they can almost Google and find, oh, I have this issue. Where's that the result of? Now that being said, if it's just some random blogger with no credentials, be very, very careful. And you might have to dig a little bit, but there is great research provided by very knowledgeable people that has indicated that we have way more control over our health. Even stuff that people will say, oh, it's just genetics, nothing you can do. That's actually not true in many cases. There are so many ways we can like wind that back. So I appreciate you going into that. The changes for the fall. The fall's coming. Obviously, it's very close. I don't even know what that. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's the first day of summer." It's first. I don't know when those days are. I'm like, I judge the first day of a season by when leaves turn, or when it feels hot, or when the first snow happens.
Yep,
that's how I know it's here. But fall's coming, back to school's coming. Are there things parents should be doing right now to plan that out? So when like school gets here, they're like, "Oh, wow, school's here. Oh my gosh, I need to." are there some things they can be doing right now?
So that you should all have the lists from school about school supplies and what
good
the
call,
kids
yeah.
need, all of that kind of thing. After your kids have been through school for so many years, that kind of becomes routine. But look ahead at the schedule. See like when family event nights are coming up. So just get those evening events on the schedule so that you can plan for those. If you see that you have a big week coming up with those evening events, maybe think about creating some meals that you can just throw in the crock pot. Easy meals that'll be ready. Having a routine as far as like laundry. So maybe the laundry gets done on the weekend. So everybody has their clothes in front of them for the week. And then giving each family member these tasks as their own responsibilities and not as chores, but as, hey, I'm going to give you the opportunity to create independence in your life. You don't want me choosing your shoes and your socks every day. You choose your socks and your shoes every day. And then just let them know you want them to have more independence. You want them to be able to be creative and responsible. And if there's any systems that they're stuck on or that any like roadblocks to success, have them check in with you and let them know where you're struggling so you can try to help them in that specific situation. Or you can have an organizer come through, debrief with every family member and then say, okay, based on my assessment here, we're going to do hanging hooks for this kid. We're going to do a dresser for this kid. This kid's going to study at the kitchen table where the lighting is better. And there's
interesting.
Like, so some kids, and not to like keep going back to ADHD, but I look at it as a superpower if you can learn how to harness it correctly.
I agree. I totally agree.
So that youngest daughter of mine, you know, I need everything very quiet when I'm studying or I can't think.
Me too.
And
I can't even have music with words in it.
She has the radio cranked all the way up.
Really?
And so I go in there and I'm like, how in the world can you study when you have this radio cranked up like this? And as a 7-year-old, she said like the most profound thing any human's ever said to me. She goes, Mom, the music keeps the busies busy so that I can think.
Yes. Wow. What an insightful comment. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That is so insightful.
That kid turned my world upside down after starting an organizing business. I truly thought I was just going to go help people put things in order, alphabetize, organize, you know, and it became helping adults with ADHD, caring for adults that live on their own with Down syndrome, taking people, transporting people, just bringing groceries to people that have had a stroke and can't carry the groceries on the bus.
Yeah.
So this job is so dynamic and so unique, and you get out into different homes and help different people every single day. So if there is anyone that is interested in organizing or has ever thought, oh, that might be kind of interesting, like give us a shout. Reach out to anyone in the Iowa or in the Professional Organizers Collective and ask them questions about doing this as a career, because you are bringing your wealth of knowledge and experience as a human being to other people who need skills of life experiences that you've been through.
Everybody has phones now, like technology, and there's, you know, it's obviously hotly debated, like, oh, should we all have phones? Whatever. That's a debate for another time. But let's just say, you know, all parents basically have a smartphone at this point, almost everybody. So do we take advantage of like shared calendars? Like, do we put like an iPad in the kitchen that has everybody's calendar? Is that overkill, or should we be keeping track? Like my wife and I have a shared calendar. It's brilliant. She will put things on my calendar. Some people think that's insane, but we have a lot of trust.
I think it's helpful.
And it makes things really easy for me. Like I would much rather if someone's like, hey, can Justin do this? Or, you know, my mom reaches out to her, whatever the situation. I would much rather her just look at my calendar and say, oh, yeah, you can do that. Throws it on my calendar, sends me a text. Hey, by the way, you're doing this on this day. That is so much easier than someone dumping it on. Hey, can you coordinate this? And I hate all that. And so that works for us. But is this something everybody should be doing, taking advantage of like iCal or Google Calendar and syncing calendars, and like her calendars on my phone are green. My calendar is blue. And so is this something everybody should be doing to keep themselves organized, or is that just our thing? And maybe it's like, you know, maybe there are better systems for everybody else.
The ultimate answer, it depends.
Yeah.
So everyone's different. And this is something maybe you powwow about as a family. So I used to do everything on a paper calendar, but then I needed to have it with me wherever I was. So I started a Google Calendar, color coded different things. Like you were saying, like green was work, blue was personal, you know, that way. And everybody in my family has my login. So they're able to log into my Google to look up my calendar. If I disappear, they'll know where to go to look to try to find me. That being said, going off a paper calendar and a digital calendar was too hard, because then I would make a change and then I would be like, well, did I change the digital calendar or did I change the paper calendar? Now I don't know which one's current. And I was getting very confused. So I would powwow as a family, and maybe you have a paper calendar at home that's like the command center, so you know when all the sports games are and all the things, and then you have to determine as an individual. So if I write something down on a piece of paper or in a calendar, it's burned into my brain forever. I can close my eyes and I can see that piece of paper in my head of what I wrote. That does not work for so many creative or visual people. So they sometimes, generally speaking, work better with a digital calendar, because then they can just search doctor's appointment,
right?
And it'll pull you up all your doctor's appointments. So again, it totally depends on if you learn better by looking at things and reading, or maybe listening, or hands-on doing. So again, you know, everybody's unique.
I wish we had more time to go into nutrition, rest for parents. You mentioned mindfulness earlier via email. I wish we had time to go into that stuff. Sometimes like the crunchy granola stuff, you know, is actually really beneficial, but we kind of gloss over like, I don't need that stuff. But I wish we had more time to do that. We don't. But Jennifer Robb, Simple Organizing Strategies, and of course the founder of Professional Organizers Collective. Thank you so much for coming in here. What's the website, or how do people reach out to you if they have more questions?
Professionalorganizerscollective.com, or you can reach me at jenrobb.com, JENNROBB. I do several things. I'm an organizer. I'm a yoga teacher. I do sound healing. So we didn't even get started on
didn't even talk about
tuning
sound
forks
healing,
or anything. I'll have to come back again.
And that's one of the areas I need to learn more about, because I think it sounds insane.
It's so cool.
And there's so many, real quick rabbit trail. There was a friend of mine that went to China somewhere for a trip, and there was some street doctor. I didn't know this was a thing. And he just like literally real time diagnosed him and said, hey, you have this. And he's like, I don't know who you are. This is weird. And he's like, I get it. You're an American. He did know broken English. And he's like, I get it. You're an American. You think this is weird. Just promise me. Make a promise when you get back to the States, do a test, have them screen you for this. And so he's like, fine. He's like, and he's a man of high character. Came right back, came to his doctor. His doctor's like, you don't need that. That's insane. No one can diagnose that visually. This is a waste of time. He says, I made a promise. It's going to happen. He's like, got it. Okay, fine. We're going to screen you for it. He goes, your money. It's a waste of time. He had it. And he took care of it early. He was fine. He's like, they are both so confused. So there's a lot about health that we don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe that's going to be a topic for a future thing. So
yeah, we can singing bowls, acupuncture, all of the things.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Jennifer Robb, thank you so much for coming on the Iowa Podcast.
I appreciate your time.
And to my fellow Iowans, Iowa expats, and Iowans at heart, thanks for listening and subscribing to the Iowa Podcast.